All right. So, news came out um, that EBSCO has announced that they're no longer going to use Adobe Digital Editions as their uh, digital rights management tool for downloaded ebooks. Um, I mean, I think it's kind of great. I hate Adobe Digital Editions. It's kind of a pain, even as a fairly literate ebook user. Um, the new platform I have not had a chance to test out directly, but they made this switch based on the accessibility of the two platforms. So this is very specifically the required software for the downloaded ebooks. Not every one of our institutions even has um, that function allowed. It's something you can set. Um, and um, if you're not sure, I'm going to show you kind of how you can get there to see. Um, and if you're interested, I will also show you where you can get the statistics for your number of downloaded titles to see what kind of impact this is going to be. Um, so um, this FAQ is a pretty decent place to start for information. Um, Hopefully, they will be um, putting the recording of the webinar here or someplace, closely linked to. And yeah, well, and so the new platform to meet the accessibility deadline, it's interesting because it's actually like past the accessibility um, requirement deadline for Europe. So while it's still ahead of the US regulations, this was very much a remediation step so that they could meet Europe's requirements. So, anyway, first things first, if you don't even know if you have downloading turned on or not as an option for your users, you can go to EBSCO Connect or directly to EBSCO Content Manager. Um, and yeah, and downloads have been disabled in Europe because of this accessibility issue, and I believe that's why a lot of our schools did not have downloads as an option. Digital editions, even though like it may have been functional on mobile, I remember trying to use it on my iPad years ago, and it was kind of like a nightmare. And I never bothered to try on my phone. Um, so the setting for whether or not you have full downloads enabled for users or not is going to be in the EBSCO host collection manager, not in eAdmin. So a little frustrating because EBSCO has like 5 different logins. Um, if you do have downloads turned on, uh, in addition to having the ability to download an individual um, chapter or the max number of pages for a title, like, 100 pages or whatever, um, this download button will show up on those titles that have the appropriate file available and rights management for full download. Users uh still have to have to log in like proxy wise. You also have to be signed in to a My EBSCO account in order to download um a full book. So even if you have downloads turned on. Um, I suspect your usage is low because signing up for my EBSCO is annoying. I couldn't even do it. It kept failing out on me. Yay. Um, so that is kind of like what we're talking about. It is this function of being able to download entire books with those specific digital rights um, attached. And as you can see here, it says like it currently requires Adobe Digital editions. Um, and in the future, it will change over and it will say requires thorium. Um, so it's good to go into your collection manager, take a look at those settings. Um, we've got good chat comments in here. For some people have selectively turned off downloads for licenses that are like one book, one user. Um, some people have kept downloads on for DRM free, so they're, like not the highly protected copyright stuff, but a lot of the older, out of copyright titles that are also available, say, on like Gutenberg Project or DOAB, um, are available via download there. Um, so that is the platform we're talking about. The experience of reading in uh in the browser through the native portal will not change. And to the best of my knowledge, this is a pretty accessible experience. EBSCO does have detailed information on that, and I'm happy to get that documentation to anyone that is interested. Um, in response to the webinar last week, um, previously they had stated that all um, all environments would be migrated um, by default, like mid-April. And then there was an option to fill out a form to delay that migration until mid-May. The email that they sent out after the webinar said that they would also now be offering the option to migrate as soon as, well, it said February 3rd, but we'll see. Um, the uh, file format for the entire book will be whatever it is that's works with thorium, which I've skimmed this, but it wasn't clear to me. So if anyone else has idea. For the chapter by chapter downloads, those will remain in standard PDF format because that experience is not changing because the digital rights management of those limited downloads is managed within the record, not in the third party um, platform of Adobe Digital Editions. Um, so, and again, so what I did do, um, you know, there's a fair amount of information on here. One of the big things is if you are allowing downloads and you look and you do have, a fair amount of use, and you feel like it is necessary to communicate about this change like right away and very completely, um, there you don't have to create a third party account anymore. So that would probably be a good, point to share with users. However, there will be this extra step um, with doing the passphrase. Um, and what's nice about this is that that passphrase can work up on multiple devices. Um, and it works for multiple books. Like it's basically a pass phrase for you as the user, as opposed to like for the individual title on that specific machine, like version of the software license identifier. Um, if um, if you currently have Adobe Digital Editions as part of the imaging on uh, your institution laptops or computers, you might want to talk to IT about adding thorium. Um, However, again, I highly recommend going and looking at your statistics and your settings um, before, like manage your effort as is most usual, like needed. Um, oh, good to know. Sarah does say that she was able to install Thorium from the Windows Store without admin permissions on the lab computers, which is actually hilarious because I have admin permissions on my computer and I can't even access Windows Store to download apps. Um, so hilarious, the absolute reverse of that elsewhere. Um, um, I did go into admin. Hold on just a second. I'll log in again and show you where those usage reports are because they're um a little hidden. It is actually a specific EBSCO report, not the counter report that's easiest to see it in. So I'm actually in Yakma's right now. Because we were doing some ebook stuff. And if you go to the reports and statistics tab and then the ebooks and audiobooks, it is the ebook title usage report, I believe. We'll see if I already downloaded it, then it's the right one. Nope. I thought it was that one. Subscription usage report. Why is it? Okay. Um, it does say in the documentation. Let me go ahead and open the report. Um, yeah, I think trying to get a report of the file formats on owned and subscribed ebooks would be a very interesting report. I'm not exactly sure how we would do it, but I'd be willing to explore with you. Okay, let me just pull up that. It is the ebook title usage report. Um, so it is that bottom one, like I said. And then my EBSCO or my Excel is going to open this up. Um, and so uh, what you'll get is one of these, awesomely huge Excels, and you'll get the um, title and what the access model is. Um, Clearly, the information about what file formats are available is there, but of course, they've combined them in one field, so it's almost impossible to actually analyze in any kind of easy way. So anyway, so you have the access model, the number of copies. So if like know that you only have certain access models, um, yes, and you can filter this report. So like I'll make it an actual table. Um, and then we can filter it. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just do this so that's tiny. Um, so we can get more on the screen. Okay, so you can see here, column U shows whether it is a DRM free or not. So you can look at like how many you have that are completely free of digital rights management. Um, there's a fair number based on, publisher, open access status, etc., or age. And then you can see the total number of accesses, um, the number of chapter downloads, which is probably going to be where most of it is, as well as online views. But then you can see here in column Y the number of full downloads. Um, we can sort largest to smallest, and we can see in the last year that Yakima had, you know, these 10 titles ish that were actually downloaded for for reading. They are mostly all DRM free um, titles. Which I don't, side note, I guess. Um, and you can see that the ones that did have a large number, the biggest number of full downloads also represented pretty high number of chapter downloads, but even higher numbers of online views. And when you look at the total of, you know, full downloads here being, like what, 1, 3, 6, 9, 12, 11 plus 3, 14 full downloads in a year, um, versus, you know, hundreds uh, of online views, potentially also, nope, other direction, um, hundreds of chapter views. Um, it's not a huge percentage of the use. I think I saw Amy comment earlier in this um, chat, like downloads were about 5% of their total ebook use for EBSCO. Um, there are turnaway data, and looks like no turnaways for Yakima, but good comment about turning off downloads for those titles. If there are turnaways, because that could indicate that multiple users were trying to access a one book, one user access model, although, as we can see, all of their downloaded titles at Yakima are unlimited users. That's the UU. Like if we look at, here we go, one book, one user, no downloads, no turnaways. We got some views. That's good. Um, so there are things to look into for your library and its configurations and usage before you fully invest a bunch of effort into um, communicating with users about this change, trying to convince IT to download new software. Um, so my ultimate lesson, which just feels like um, the truth of the general world for the last few years, is don't panic about it unless you have to. Um, I will be keeping an eye on when the recording of last week's webinar gets released. They have promised an edited slide deck and more detailed information. Um, I am wondering if they'll also release the chat along with it. I doubt it. I've never actually looked for a chat with an EBSCO recorded webinar to see if those get released, but um yeah, it looks like it is it it is, minimally impactful, hopefully for most folks. Um oh cool. They said they'd include the chat. I wonder if they'll anonymize it or how anonymous it was. Anyway, um yeah, I wonder if um you could basically uh do something along the lines of a title level more complete analysis about downloads to like see if maybe there's information on the IP um, of the access of full downloads to see if those are on campus downloads or off campus downloads. I think the green spiral is because my settings allow annotation by attendees. And if you guys click on the annotate tool at the bottom of the screen, you could all doodle on the page and we could have a grand old time. Um, and I don't actually know how to get rid of it because I've never actually like the permission is on, but I've never used it in a meeting. Um, so yay, I saw that star. Um, so anyway, uh, so yeah, and now we've all learned something about Zoom as well. Um, yes, um, general reflection on ebook usage. I wish instructors were better informed about all the ins and outs of licensing. Yeah, this was inevitably something I dealt with as an e-resources librarian, trying to communicate about, um, like we do not need to purchase that ebook at that license. Um, because one, the only license available is a one book, one user, and two, you're using, one chapter in your course. We can put a link to to the resource, and students can go to the resource themselves, and then we will get full usage statistics on how many times that chapter was accessed during the, time period of your course, as opposed to you downloading a PDF and sharing it, or us spending $135 to buy another license copy, um, that someone could download the entire book, but that's not what's required. So much fun. Um, so yes, Sarah said that she'll be getting the recording. I'll be getting the recording. We can share it out to the listserv. Um, Whoever's kind of paying attention at the time. And I will also I'll see sometimes um those webinars are more openly available, like on YouTube, and sometimes they're a little more like here's the link to that specific video on our, WebEx platform or whatever. Um, so if we need to figure out a general access link, I can do that. The webinar title was Who Can Beat Me to Email? Um, it it was uh oh, LCPDRM webinar. Um, I don't know that. Yeah, that's. Uh, I think the full thing was transitioning to LCPDRM for EBSCO ebooks. What libraries need to know. Um, and it was at 7 a.m. last Thursday. So, there is an implementation roadmap and like their release notes. Um, but that's the release notes are for the entire platform, but there should be, articles on the new um, EDR lab as well as Thorium in here. There's probably also archive stuff about Adobe Digital Edition. So if you need to, point out some differences between old uh, format and new format. I also believe they provided a link to some more, like share out promotional stuff through um, the company itself. I wonder if I can get a nicer link. There we go. Check, check, check. Um, so um, this can be shared with your IT so that they have more information about the um, necessary, requirements for computers that are going to download it, what the security stuff is, um, etc. And um, and then where was here? I think I already changed the FAQ. I'll share that again. And then this is that um, the roadmaps. I'll get the cleaner link for this as well. Um, so yeah, so they did announce at one point that if you wanted to push that migration out to May, they had initially been like, yes, you need to submit this form by February 3rd. I am not absolutely sure um, that they will be able to stick to that, given the hubbub. Um, Excellent. Thank you, Lori, the e-reader app that's gonna work for Chromebooks, um, which um, is good to be aware of depending on what technology your college uses. Um, oh, Notepad plus plus has a critical update. I probably did it automatically. I access it often enough, but um, so yeah, that is what we know so far. Um, at the time that I was like, we'll talk about this on Tuesday, I had entirely intended to have the recording of the webinar. Um, so, um, ah, auto update was compromised for Notepad++, probably for lots of things, to be honest. I'm not even sure what my institutional settings are for auto update on the non-imaged apps. Um, and Notepad++ is definitely one I had to add for myself. So anyway, basic checklist, go to your collection manager, see if you have downloads turned on for any titles. Um, because if you don't, this won't even immediately impact your users. If you do, go to EBSCO admin and check out the ebook title usage report to see how many full downloads you've had. The report I ran was for the last calendar year, but you can customize that time period and then check out whether or not your institution has even downloaded Adobe Digital Edition or provided information to your users anywhere about Adobe Digital Editions. That should be replaced or supplemented with new information about the new platform. Um, but, um, you know, ultimately, while it caused quite a hubbub and definitely has implications, since the Thorium reader is still kind of under development, more or less, and is not available for all hardware specifications. Um, it is, in fact, kind of a minimal update in the grand scheme of things. I appreciate so much all of you who were able to attend that webinar live, who have provided us with a few more details in chat. Um, and I am, um, and I'm sure, one of us will get that recording shared out as soon as it is shared out to us. So, um, more information coming. And I hope uh, any concerns were at least mitigated, and no one's in full panic mode. So, um, tested accessibility for Alma letters, like in the like as a user, like how they get delivered to email. Yeah, they should be okay so long as you have um properly used the XML and label fields to create the content. Um, however, um, any customization of the different elements in there, the like the style. Yeah, let me see if I can find some of the documentation. I have uh I don't know where and I don't know when, but I have seen things about how um XML uh formatting and then like embedded styling to create the HTML um kind of leads to readability. Um so I will look back at it. Um but um it yeah. Um The migration dates for the EBSCO e-reader platforms are either basically immediately, default mid-April, or apply for delayed as late as May 16th. Um, EBSCO is not, so far as I know, going to continue with the Adobe Digital Editions option beyond then because it would put them in violation of the US regulations and the European ones that they've been in violation of. So they're under the gun. And I mean, they have a pretty strong commitment to accessibility. Um, Candace Watkins and I have had a really great conversation with not their like head of accessibility, but the practical manager of all things accessible with EBSCO, and they they take it seriously and want uh, their their content to be accessible. So um, I I don't think that this will, be a token migration to an unsupported uh, software. I think that they will absolutely work closely with EDR Lab to make sure um, that the Thorium Reader app um, remains um, as accessible as possible and that it may even, like expand how it's used. Um, oh, ebook Central phasing out ADE. I don't, I don't know. Um, that will definitely be, um, that will definitely be a thing that we need to look into further. LLC does have an accessibility work group that is collecting information like that. Um, Yeah, I did also get the email about the LibGuides updates. For the last 2 years, we've had the option to go to the new A to Z databases and I think blogs or something like that. And some of those platforms will be default in the next 2 years. And by the end of the year, Bootstrap 5 um, is coming. So if anyone needs help looking at coding that they are currently using on their libguides and whether or not it will work with Bootstrap 5, um, just let me know. I'm happy to help with that. Um, One thing that has come up in our NDE work group conversation and kind of relates, but let's not go down a rabbit hole right this second. Um, the the deep linking structure that is used to create those one search widgets, the HTML ones in on your like libguides pages or the, college websites, um, those will automatically redirect to NDE when you end up going live with NDE. Um, you cannot reverse going live. Um, so it's one of those things that is tricky to test. Just a little reminder, this is going to end up taking probably longer than I want it to, but visual reminder of where I'm talking about that like live. We'll just get in here on Sandbox. Yeah, my number one LibGuides advice, just for general accessibility remediation as well as um, the LibGuides upgrades themselves, is get rid of guides that are not visited or uh, are not accurate or have broken links. And then you don't have to fix them. Um, so Big Bend embarked on that, and we went from almost 330 different pages listed in the environment to about 100 and I think we're down to like 178, and only 75 of those are published. Um, so we were able to do a lot of cleanup when it came down to it, looking at weird, duplicated, unpublished um, sites, sites that never got visited. There were things that we looked at and realized um, had been used as kind of like almost parallel Canvas shells where students were posting their work. And so we just got rid of all of those in, like response to privacy. So um, it's been pretty good. Ugh, Sandbox. Let's see. Try a different sandbox. See if it works any better than the other one. Uh, Here we go. So when I talk about live NDE and the widgets redirecting, um, in Discovery under Configure Views, um, you have whether a view is NDE or not, and then you have this column for NDE live, and on these um, NDE views, there is a switch to live option. Do not do that unless you are ready to do that, because you cannot go back. Once you switch to live, all of those links are going to get transitioned to the NDE structure. That redirect is going to take place, and there is no reverting. Um, so unfortunately, we cannot test our own widgets to really show like, yep, they are successfully going through. Um, but obviously there are any number of um, institutions that have uh, gone live. So um, I'm sure if there were significant issues, we would have heard about it. If Bobby's on the call, it was probably, I'm sure you would have heard about it because you're really watching those discussions. So seems to be working. Um, all right, it is 10:44. I do want to make sure that everyone is reminded slash aware of the next few weeks of these open calls. Next Tuesday, we're going to have product support managers, whatever their title is, um, for OCLC, talking about the new hosted Easy Proxy um, admin uh, dashboard and answering other questions about functionality and tools within Easy Proxy hosted. There are in fact a number of reports available that are not available with the self-hosted, um, and it's kind of our chance to speak directly with them. Um, on the 17th of February, instead of this Zoom link and our open call, um, we're going to have I've encouraged everybody to register for the Orbis Cascade Accessibility Speakers Series, which is about vetting um, vetting products. So, yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, the admin dashboard for a hosted Easy Proxy is currently just the \admin, which is like real old and like clunky looking. They are rolling out a new, like more like, fancy, um, what dashboard that would look like, EBSCO Connect or, whatever. So that's what they're going to tell us about. It is not generally available yet. They're just kind of like migrating people over in their own sweet time, as OCLC does. Um, Melinda, the OCLC accessibility or the EBSCO accessibility? I don't know which, like, there have been a lot of shared links. Oh, Orbis Cascade Accessibility Speaker Series. Um, if you go to our homepage, um, here, is the register link, for the accessibility speaker series. Um, So, and then on March 31st, there's another one, but the topic isn't set yet. And all of the information is available in the link that Sarah just shared in the chat that has the whole series of the speakers. You can also view recordings for the previous sessions that they've already had. So, um, so yeah, so next 2 weeks, it will not be my rambling thoughts on things. We will have OCLC and then a fabulous speakers series session. sponsored and hosted by Orbis Cascade. Um, so yeah, the last one on licensing, e-resources, and adding accessibility, um, to that. They also on the Orbis Cascade website have their license terms, that should have the uh, accessibility requirements that Orbis Cascade asks for, and that is in the shared content documentation. Um, so if you go here and then e-resource licensing, um, the licensing best practices document, um, that we, originally, put together back in 2001, or 2021. I was part of that first group that did that. So, um, yeah. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. Uh, this is a great document. I love this document. Very proud of this document. Um, ugh, fine. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, lots of good stuff in here. So, all right. It's been a bit of a buffet of topics today. Um, and if anyone does end up needing links that they missed from the chat, please reach out. This recording will go on to YouTube because we've managed to not share any personal information that I need to edit out. So it makes it a lot easier. And if anybody, needs anything, please reach out. I've been working with a number of schools on our CTC link queries lately, and just doing some other projects around record cleanup. So, uh, good stuff. And we will be back in our normal format open call in 3 weeks. So have a great rest of the week, and I will see you all later.